has ordered the full implementation of the Stephen Oronsaye report. If the report is implemented, several agencies of the government would be merged, scrapped, or relocated towards cutting the cost of governance. Ayodele Uzubako examines the recommendations of this report.
After more than a decade of gathering dust, the Oronsaye report finally sees the light of day. President Bola Tinubu has taken a decision to tread where others feared by fine-tuning and restructuring the operations of government to cut costs and improve efficiency. The implementation involves merging, subsuming, and scrapping agencies with similar functions. The president has also constituted a committee that will work within a 12-week period to actualize this new directive.
National Agency for Control of AIDS, HIV/AIDS, NACA, to be merged with the Center for Disease Control in the Federal Ministry of Health. National Emergency Management Agency to be merged with the National Commission for Refugee Migration and Internally Displaced Persons.
Now, what that means is that a number of agencies, commissions, and some departments have actually been scrapped. Some have been merged, while others have been subsumed.
The Federal Executive Council meeting also received the report submitted by the Interministerial Panel set up to review the affairs of the National Social Investment Program. Significant recommendations were approved by President Tinubu, and these include social security payments to vulnerable households, payment of unemployment benefits, a social consumer credit program, among others.
Comprising 60 million Nigerians is to resume immediately with the important proviso that every beneficiary will be identified by their NIN, National Identity Number, and the BVN.
And what we're looking to do here is the triangulation of this data set to ensure that not only are we using the register that is properly been populated, but that we also do proper verification of every individual that will benefit from that investment, that social investment program.
For the Ministry of Works, approval was given for the construction of a 700-kilometer coastal road from Lagos through coastal states to Cross River State.
Goes through Lagos, goes through the Lekki Deep Sea Port, goes through Ogun State, Ondo State, Delta, Bayelsa, Port Harcourt, Akwa Ibom to Cross River. But we also have two spurs, spurs that leads to the north. That goes from the ongoing Badagry-Sokoto route, and the one that leads to the Trans-Sahara route that goes from Ogoja down to Cameroon.
All eyes will now be on President Tinubu's administration as he takes bold steps towards the implementation of a report considered to be the silver bullet in restructuring and reforming Nigeria's civil service through the rationalization of agencies. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
Joining me now is the Executive Chairman of the 16th Council UK, Dr. Reuben Bryan. Thank you for joining us on the program this hour. Attention is turned again to the need for government to cut governance cost, and we're talking about the Stephen Oronsaye report. How relevant is this report 12 years after, when you consider its content?
Thank you for having me. That's the problem I had. That the reports that was generated over 12 years ago, really, it's now to be implemented. At the time the report was implemented, it was developed. The issues prevalent at that time has changed. It's a totally different world. And I do understand the idea of President Tinubu on this. He wants to cut down the cost of governance, and that is important. We want to make the public service effective, and that is important. But this report is 12 years old. A lot has changed. For example, at the time this report was submitted to the then President Jonathan, we had about 500 and something NDAs. Right now, that has more than doubled. So again, that is an issue because the conditions at the time when the report was submitted has all changed. So I'm really kind of not. I don't have a lot of excitement, and I don't really see a lot coming out from this report because if you want to cut down the cost of governance, you want to first of all even start with trimming down the number of personal assistants.
I hear you, Dr. Brian. Contrary to how you feel about it, there's a lot of excitement and optimism, around this report back at home in Nigeria. There's an 8-man committee that now has a 12-week deadline to come up with the administrative restructuring that this will need. So hopefully they'll be able to, work this out relative to what is relevant now. But what do you think about what appears an imminent job loss as a result of this restructuring and how that would impact, on the majority of the people considering what the economy is saying as we speak?
Again, these are the issues. I'm happy about the excitement. It shows that Nigerians want their government to work. So it is a good sign. But being excited is not enough. Now, you just mentioned something I was going to talk about as well, which is I know that there has been a promise that jobs will not be affected, but I wonder how that's going to happen. How can you scrap ministries and NDAs and subsume some, and then nobody loses their job? If that doesn't happen, how then do we, cut down the cost of governance? So that is what my concern is. The excitement is good, but will this excitement deliver the result that we want? There are a lot of areas to look at if we want to cut costs. This report is 12 years old. A lot has changed. People could be excited because they haven't thought this through. It's a good thing that President Tinubu is summoning the boldness to do what the previous administrations have not done. My only concern is what happens at the end of the day. Will the expected objective, the goal, are we going to realize that? Or is it going to be another effort in futility? That's what my concern is, all right? Because we all want the government to work. That's why we are all sharing our opinion, right? And if it has been that the committee was mandated to review the report, I could probably be a little more excited. But to implement a report that was generated 12 years ago, I'm not very excited, I must be honest.
Executive Chairman, 16th Council